Okay, so you might have noticed that on this channel I rarely talk about events that are currently happening in Dead by Daylight, since a lot of the videos that I upload have something to do with the game's history, but I'm willing to make an exception with this one, and I hate to jump on the bandwagon since I know that a lot of people have already talked about the new update, but honestly I'm just as disappointed as everyone else, and I promise I have something to add to the conversation. Alright, now first of all, behavior. How is it possible that you release a killer in a completely bugged and clearly unfinished state, you wait almost 4 entire years for that character to receive significant changes? Keep in mind that the Twins rework was originally planned for January of 2023, and when the update finally comes out, it's the most disastrous rework that has ever happened in the game's history. Like, I'm genuinely confused as to who came up with this, and how it even went through to the public test build. You can't tell me that somebody actually looked at this and said, yeah, that's fine, release the PTB. Is this even the same balance team at this point? How can behavior make such a good rework with the hillbilly and then completely fumble only about 3 months later? We shouldn't forget to mention that during this whole time that the community was expecting the Twins rework, the developers were continuously hyping up this supposed big rework. But for what? 3 quality of life changes that could have been done in a matter of a few days? Like, come on guys, I'm sure you can do better than this. Even more absurd is the fact that about a year ago, there was actually a bug that accidentally increased the switching speed between Charlotte and Victor, and the developers actually spent time fixing this glitch, only for it to later become a base kit feature for this killer. Like, do you understand how ridiculous this situation really is? Okay, now enough of me rambling about the Twins. I wanted to share my thoughts about the potential reasons for why this may be happening. Behavior, the company developing Dead by Daylight, employs a lot of people, and how many of them do you reckon actually understand and have deep knowledge on the fundamental gameplay aspects of DBD? And even if that were to be the case, then it is still unclear why these balance changes are taking so long to implement. And I'm talking about incredibly basic and no-brainer stuff, like the Twins quality of life buffs, the recent Haddonfield rework, and Blight's add-on changes. Well, a lot of people have the misconception that if more people work on a project, the faster it will get done. And this is actually true for many things, for instance constructing a building or manufacturing cars in a factory or whatever. But it can't be farther from the truth if we are speaking about game development. Behavior Interactive has over 1300 employees as of the time I am making this video. With that many people working on the game, it shouldn't come as a surprise that a lot of these workers need to be coordinated in order to eventually create a cohesive product. And in a big company, this usually takes a huge amount of time and resources. First off, ideas have to be presented to whoever is in charge. Reports have to be made in terms of which of these ideas are viable and worth spending time on, and after all that, these ideas have to be coded into the game, which is a nightmare in itself, since once again you have to coordinate the programmers and the people who are creating the code, not only with the balance team, but also with the visual department. Subsequently, all of this needs to then be reviewed and playtested, which, to be fair, it seems that behavior normally skips this part of the process. Now compare all of this that I've been talking about in the past minute with a small indie development team. Such teams are usually comprised of a pretty small number of members, usually around a maximum of 10 or so people, let's say. And instead of spending an eternity coming up with ideas and solutions and deciding which ones to implement, these people sit in a room together, talk for a couple of minutes discussing the concepts, and then just go and start coding them. And see, because only a small quantity of people are working on the game, they have a much clearer vision of the final product, because of which they are a lot less likely to encounter setbacks during the process. Furthermore, since only a few people are developing the game, they'll likely have a much better understanding of how it works and how to, balance it. And there are also no analytics-driven businessmen in suits holding these developers back from achieving their vision. If I haven't yet been able to explain what I'm trying to say, I'll elaborate with an analogy that I stole from a YouTube comment. Development is like writing a book, not like unloading a truck. Imagine trying to write an essay with 100 people. You would each have to write one sentence and then figure out altogether how to make the paper flow. It would take forever to make everyone happy, and that wastes everyone's time. Basically, with game development and programming in general, there are simply things that can be sped up. By hiring, let's say 200 more people to work on a game like Dead by Daylight, the more time it will take. This is the reason why, for example, Mojang was able to put out massive updates for Minecraft only within a couple of months of each other for nearly 4 years, despite the company having less than 40 employees at that time. For comparison, Mojang currently employs over 600 people, and Minecraft receives updates of the same scale as before, but only about once per year. Now, am I saying that behavior would suddenly become faster and better at balancing their game if they laid off half of their employees? Well, not necessarily, since they would still have to start hiring competent playtesters and people who understand how Dead by Daylight actually works. Okay, I apologize for hating on behavior so much, I just wanted to share my thoughts into perhaps why they have been fumbling quite a bit lately. Now, let's move on to the other problematic parts of the 7.7.0 patch. What you're currently seeing on screen is my first killer match after the update, and I'll just let the rest of this clip play out, including my subsequent reaction.
The fuck? What? What the fuck was that?
Yeah, so absolutely awful server issues. In addition, the game seems to have become a lot, and I mean a lot, laggier overall. Before, I was consistently getting 60 FPS while recording, while currently, some maps honestly feel like a slideshow. Like, I don't know if it's really noticeable on video, but in-game it's really choppy. I also tested this without recording, and honestly it's just as laggy. Further issues include the whole thing with the flashing lights, which thankfully that got fixed relatively quickly. Now, I know that most of this stuff was caused by DBD getting its engine updated from UE4 to UE5. And while I'm certain, or at least I hope, that all of these bugs will eventually get fixed, I'm not fairly sure what the update to Unreal Engine 5 will necessarily bring to the game. In the patch notes for 7.7.0, it is only stated that this has been done in order to provide a foundation for possible future improvements. And I'm kind of worried about what they mean by that, since up to now I've only ever seen people utilize this engine for achieving hyper-realistic graphics that are completely void of any uniqueness, personality or art style direction, and I just personally hope that the DBD devs don't overcomplicate the game's visual style, as in my opinion so-called realistic graphics are just temporary, while art style direction is timeless. More on this in my video about the game's visual updates that you can click on in the top right corner of the screen. Additionally, this new update is full of map desync, where the game is unsure whether these objects and tiles are actually there on the map. There are also some invisible collisions on other maps, for instance on RPD where one of the wings got kill switched, however the other one still hasn't been, despite this palette in the area around it being completely bugged for both killers and survivors. Overall, this patch was kind of a mess, and I sincerely hope that these issues are resolved in the near future. Well, yeah, I guess that was it. I apologize for the negative nature of this video, but I just wanted to get this stuff off my chest. And don't worry, we're going back to DBD history videos next week as always. Regardless, if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below, and also I would be glad if you would consider subscribing as well. Thank you guys for 7,000 subscribers, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!